I never really sort of saw myself as being a man. I've always felt very feminine. I feel happier when I've got makeup on and women's clothes. Didn't have very many successful relationships as a man. I found myself, I didn't feel as if I was gay, although I was branded a homosexual. Therefore it means that you either have to have the sex change done or just go through life sort of being very miserable.
Sarah Andrews, or Neil as her passport shows, has never felt comfortable as a man. For as long as she can remember, she's lived, looked and loved as a woman. She doesn't regard relationships with other men as homosexual, just normal. Hormones have given her breasts, stopped facial hair, and at 24, Sarah is making plans for a whole new future.
Yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I am a woman. If people can't accept me like that, then, you know, I think that's pretty sort of sad. Not just like myself, I mean, I sort of can get by, but there's others that can't get by as well as I can. You know, perhaps if society was just a little bit more accepting, it would be a lot easier for people like myself, rather than get the abuse that we get from people. As far as I'm concerned, you know, trying to find work is impossible. Employers, when you go along to them and apply for the job, they'd sooner give it to somebody that's normal, or if they can suss you out and think that you are just a normal girl, after a while, other employers tend to find out what you are, employees tend to find out what you are, they go and, you know, say something about you to the boss, and then you're out the door.
Sarah, look, I've got a couple of letters from the psychiatrists who've been looking after you, and they indicate that the situation's now come where you're ready for surgery.
One day last month, with two psychiatrists giving Sarah their medical go-ahead on mental grounds, Sarah takes the biggest step towards becoming a female she'll ever take. This is one of the few surgeons in this country prepared to do what Sarah wants. Dr. Peter Hirsch, in just a few days, will remove Neil Andrews' penis and testicles, replace them with an artificial vagina, turning Neil the man into Sarah the woman in just 2 hours.
Over what period of time have you been seeing psychiatrists?
About 4 years.
Right. Do you have any idea of the nature of the surgery that you're contemplating?
Yeah, I do.
Are you aware that there are a substantial number of problems post-operatively in relation to the surgery?
I am.
See, one of the problems is that, as I know we've discussed previously, is the fact that the male anatomy doesn't lend itself to the formation of a vagina, and the big problem is that that artificial hole that we create tends to want to close, and that is the single most important complication involved with this surgery. You're aware of that?
Yes.
Sarah, have you got any idea as to how much this is going to cost you, this surgery, and as well as the hospitalisation?
Roughly, it's costing me about $3,000. That's by the time I get out of hospital, it would have cost me about $3,000.
So do you regard this operation as the biggest decision anybody could make in terms of elective surgery?
I certainly do. It is irrevocable. I explain this very carefully to each and every patient, that I have no ability to determine whether or not the operation is correct for them. I rely on experts to tell me. It is another operation as far as I'm concerned, and the object for me is to get it right for the patients.
Hi Sarah, I'm going to give you your pre-med injection. Okay. So
On a Monday morning, after a last chance to reconsider, Sarah, or Neil, is about to go to theatre. Once this injection takes effect, he'll go out like a light. Even if he wanted to change his mind, it'd be too late. This, for the last time in his life, is Neil Andrews' chance to say stop. Just an hour to go. Any last-minute nervousness?
No, I'm not really nervous at all. I can't wait. I've looked forward to this for so long that I just can't wait. At the moment, I'm just thinking about waking up and feeling the pain. That's what I'm thinking about, the pain, and just praying that it's going to all work out and it's going to look good.
Throughout the whole build-up to this operation, have you ever doubted the wisdom of what you want to do?
No, not at all.
Well, next time we talk to you, it'll be after the op.
That's right.
Okay. Just look up to the ceiling. Feeling sleepy?
How difficult is this procedure surgically, Peter?
Technically, it's a very straightforward operation. The removal of the testicles and the radical amputation of the penis is technically very straightforward. It's breaking that now.
How many of these would you have done?
This is the second one of these fully since we bit the bullet, so to speak, and tried to give this group of people an identifiable clinic that they could come to. We've had others who have had the operations elsewhere. I've got one that's come from Singapore, and it is an unmitigated disaster. I'm not saying we don't have problems either, but we've got to get them followed up here where they're having the surgery.
Has that been the trend up until now? Many people seek surgery overseas?
Yes.
Hormonally, removal of the testis, what effect will that have on Sarah? She seems to be of the view that it will make her much more feminine than simply the removal of the testes.
Well, I've tried to dispel some of that with her because she's already taking oestrogens and has been doing so for a long time. In fact, she has beautifully developed breasts as a result of taking oestrogen, so these testicles haven't been functioning for a long, long time.
Now, what possibility is there of creating the reverse of what you're removing, of in fact creating an artificial penis?
That can be done, but it only looks like a penis and allows them to stand up to micturate, but it doesn't function. It's very hard to create a normal penis.
Are there those of your colleagues, Peter, who would regard this sort of surgery as frivolous?
Yes, there certainly are, and that's what that highlights the problem that these people face. I've received a fair bit of flack from close colleagues about this form of surgery, but there is a need for it and somebody has to do it.
So 2 hours later, a whole new woman, huh?
That's right. A little bit swollen and feeling the worse for wear, but when all the swelling has settled down and the hair regrown, a very pleasing appearance, and to externally very difficult to tell the difference.
How would you like it here then? Something like this. Fringe sort of like that, probably not quite so full, do you know what I mean? More of like a bob, right? But not quite.
3 weeks after the surgery, Sarah Andrews is making her first appearance as a woman. A new life beginning at the hairdresser's. From now on, only the law will judge Sarah to be still a man, to the day she dies if it's not changed. And Sarah herself, well, according to her, she's hot to trot.
How are you feeling?
Great, I feel really great.
Any regrets?
No regrets whatsoever.
And the pain?
The pain was very excruciating. At one stage I laid there on the bed in the dark, the early hours of the morning, and I just thought, God, you know, what have I done to myself? And then after like a couple of days after that, I was starting to sort of feel my old self again.
Do you feel any different?
Yeah, I feel more confident in myself. It's a relief that everything went through okay and there was no problems or anything like that.
Would you do it again?
No, I wouldn't. I think if I had to go through it again, knowing the pain that I went through and all the drama with psychiatrists and doctors, I couldn't be bothered with it.
What sort of woman do you think you'll be?
What do you think?